And I'm Carol Ann Cross, and I'm pleased that you're here with us today. We're looking forward to an exciting show.
We've got a fantastic guest for you today. We are so truly blessed. But before we introduce Barry and tell you about his beautiful work in the world, I'd like to remind you all that, hey, you're divine beings just like we are. And our purpose, our sole function is to support you and to nurture you and uplift you in really beautiful ways. And that all Angel Heart Radio programs are not to be used to replace your legal or medical advice, nor any professional advice you may have had, nor your own sound judgment. This is not to replace your own wisdom. So you are free to make your choices in the world, and that's really, really important. We have Barry Auchettl with us. Now, Barry, very aptly named thevisionschool.org. Yes. Barry has a beautiful vision in the world. He's going to share quite a lot with us today. We may need a second program, Barry. Barry Auchettl, thevisionschool.org. Welcome to Angel Heart Radio.
Thank you, Anaya, and thank you, Carol. Looking forward to sharing some time with you.
Excellent. Now, Barry has worked on Angel Heart Radio, and you will still find his shows in the podcast section on angellight777.com and, of course, on Blog Talk Radio. If you search for In One Vision, boom, you're going to find this man and be totally inspired.
Amazing shows. I really enjoyed doing those years ago. It's really helped in doing, I think I worked out the other day, I've done 300 Zoom classes in the last 3 years. So.
Wow. Okay. Your energy is incredible. Your focus is amazing. Your vision is beautiful. Let's talk about your book, One Vision. Yeah. Is it The Journey Home? I'm sorry, I've got it over there, but I can't see it.
It's going to be called One Vision, The Journey Home. And it's really a book that I wrote 23 years ago. So it's been a long time before it's been published. And it was a book that I wrote after I had experiences happen to me. And really, it was almost my therapy when I did that, to try to make sense of everything that had happened.
Yeah.
And it's really, what's been interesting is the timing for this to happen, because I was talking to a publisher only about 4 months ago who said, let's get this book out to the world, and I had it sort of hidden and I had transcripts. And in those days, we just photocopied some sheets and handed them around, We didn't have print on demand. And she said, no, look, this book needs to be out there as a book. And the timing of this now is so much more relevant than what it would have been 23 years ago, because now's the time that I believe the book's needed.
Absolutely. There is the magnificence of divine timing. And while we don't always understand it, once we allow it, it's always revealed to us that this is the time. This is the time. So if you're watching anywhere other than Angel Heart Radio on Facebook or Angel Heart Radio on YouTube, and you'd like to ask Barry questions, comment, you can do that in the comment section on the live stream video. So it's important that you go to one of those two pages so we can actually see your comments. Now, Barry, wow, you had the most extraordinary experience. You were on the path to success. You worked hard. You spent a lot of time at work to support what you believed was the path for yourself and your family. And then you had, of all things, a simple thing, an eye test.
Yeah, look, exactly. And in the book itself, it's done as a fictitious book because I didn't want to be saying this is certain people and this is what I did. I wanted people to be able to go, I can relate to this and I can do this as well. And it really is based on my story, because I didn't know that was the only story that I really knew that well. And the story starts with a school teacher, and I'm actually a school teacher. In the book, I talk about being an accountant, which is where I did first start. But I went and got an eye test. In actual fact, I took my son to get an eye test.
Oh, that's right.
The optometrist recommended some glasses, instead of glasses, maybe you could do some eye exercises. And I must admit, I went, oh, come on. Universe must have been laughing. I'm thinking, come on, you're going to be joking. And then he said to me, he said, what about you? Did you want to do some exercises? And my response was, I'm too old, save the boy. You know, like I was 32 at the time.
Lord, hang on, everyone. The response was, I am too old, save my son at 32, right?
Yeah,
Yep,
that
this
was a
is great. I love
32.
it.
And the universe must have been cackling itself, because somehow I went home and there was something within me that it must have hit a nerve. And all I did was start to experiment on myself. And part of it wasn't out of some major, inspiration that came. Part of it came because when I went to different optometrists for my last set of glasses, I went to 3 optometrists who all gave me a different prescription.
Mm.
They all gave me a really strong prescription. And when I said to these feel too strong, they all said, you'll get used to it. In other words, my eyes will deteriorate sufficiently to match the new lens.
Mm.
And then what was worse, he said, what do you expect for someone in their mid-40s? And I was 32. And I thought to myself, if I've got my eyesight someone of mid-40s, what's going to happen when I'm in my mid-40s or mid-50s, mid-60s?
Yeah.
So my entire goal at the start wasn't even about improving eyesight. I wore glasses 24/7. I put them on when I woke up and I took them off when I went to bed.
They were very thick lenses, I believe, too, Barry.
Those really thick lenses, like we used to call them Coke bottle lenses in those days. And my intent was just to stop my eyes deteriorating. If I could keep the same lens for the rest of my life, I would have been happy.
Yep.
And I would have thought that was a miracle. And I sort of experimented for 2 months, and I went back and got my eyes retested. And these were multifocal glasses, so for seeing distance and for close up. In 2 months, I went back. I've never worn glasses for close up since.
In 2 months?
In 2 months, I was in a single lens for driving.
Wow.
In 6 months, I passed a driver's license with 20/20 vision.
Okay, so this has all happened in a 6-month period.
Mm.
So we're going to be talking about your book, One Vision, today, but you have actually a lot of strings to your bow. Each of them are really powerful and important. How do people, if they're very interested in finding out about what their opportunity might be to improve their own eyesight, what do you recommend to them before we move on to this next phase?
Yeah, really simple. If they go to thevisionschool.org, there are a number of programs in there. We have 2 programs. One is a 10-day program to improve your eyesight. The other is a Clear Blocks to Better Vision, which is about improving eyesight and your vision of life. And next month, they'll also be loaded up at the Vision School, our brand new movie that comes out, which is called Vision 2020, From Eyesight to Insight. So
Wow.
lots going to be on there.
What a great name for a movie.
Thank you. Yes, it gets actually released on World Sight Day on October the 8th.
Mm-hmm. That's fabulous. So, okay, thevisionschool.org, that's your portal. You're going to find a lot available to you through that one portal. Carol-Anne, do you have anything before we move on to the next?
No, I'm just excited. After I looked at Barry's book today and after you sent it to me, I'm just so excited to hear Barry's words. I've got a page of notes here, but, I'd like to hear it in Barry's words coming from Barry. It's great.
Same. Okay, so Barry, you've had this visit to the optometrist. Something rather startling occurred for you out of that visit. So if you could lead us between sort of that period and when you were walking down and found yourself drawn to that, what we used to call New Age store in that period of time. Because that's only a couple of weeks, I think, that period of time, isn't it?
That was a huge period in my life. There was a period in my life where after I'd got 20/20 vision, I was so excited. And the optometrist I was working with, we sort of became friends, and he was quite excited for me. He got quite excited, and he called me in and he said, I've got this new device that can check your peripheral vision. And I said, sure, I'll come in. I went in and he said, all these lights are going to come on. When they come on, press the buzzer. And I sat there looking at the center, waiting for him to turn it on. And it took, after a few minutes, he said, Barry, what are you doing? And I said, I'm waiting for you to turn the machine on. And I turned around and I realized these lights were actually going and had been going for several minutes. So even though I'd passed 20/20 on an eyesight chart, I actually had no peripheral vision at all.
Wow. Wow. You've
And if you
already
think about
passed the eye test. That's
because you
amazing.
think about glasses, glasses will make you see life like this.
Mm.
When I got out of glasses, I got to see life like that. And I went, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there's this whole world out here.
Mhm.
2 weeks later, I was operated on for a pituitary tumor.
And it was a rather startling, I felt, really rather shocking way of discovering all this, because you didn't even get to have like a face-to-face. It was just
No.
a phone call. That's it.
The phone call, the doctor saying, be here Tuesday or you'll be dead, like,
Yeah.
bedside manner, hang up. And
Yeah.
so I went into shock and I started saying goodbye to people. I was literally saying goodbye to people. And it was actually the following Tuesday, was the day I had to see the doctor. I walked past this new age shop in Ballarat and we had about a half an hour to spare before we had to go to the doctors, and they had meditation starts in 5 minutes. And I thought, oh, look, and my wife was with me, she said, whatever you want to do, there's this permission that came with it. Whatever you want to do was quite a tagline after a while. And so we went into this shop, went up and meditated. And apparently the meditation wasn't that spectacular because my wife didn't get much out of it. But for me, I sort of went somewhere, and it was the first time that I had a connection with my grandmother, who turned up to let me know that I was okay. And so I've sort of walked out with tears going, well, this was amazing, what an amazing place. And everyone else going, well, wasn't that good today? It was just a quiet meditation. But I had my own experience. And by the time I went to the doctors, and the doctors doing the, we have to operate or you'll be dead type syndrome, and I'm saying, yes, that's one option. Can we look at what other options there are? And, what can we do after that? And he's going, do you realize how serious this is? Yeah, you could be dead. I said, yes, you've told me that several times. Now let's keep going. And it really helped with that process of getting through what would otherwise be a really traumatic experience.
Mm. Carol Ann, before I say something, is there something you'd like to?
It's just wonderful. You were just so meant to be in that meditation. And it's just wonderful when we think of the synchronicity of where, God and the angels and everybody put us exactly where we're meant to be. That was just for you. And that meditation changed everything completely.
Yeah.
Has changed everything. And my grandmother continually turns up at major times in my life. If there's been, major situations, she's just, it's okay. You're on the path.
Wonderful.
It's incredible too, because not only when you close your eyes, I'm reading the book, when you closed your eyes, and obviously it was dark, but all of a sudden this light started to get very strong, but you realized it wasn't even just one light. There was like a main light and lots of other little lights. Who were the little lights? Do you know?
Well,
or do you not know?
It happened later in the book. But what's really interesting, and I can remember both times when these experiences happened to me and this light comes in, there's these little lights. It's like each little light has been someone that I've known on this earth who has passed away.
Yes.
And I can remember thinking to myself, I didn't know so many people I knew that died.
Okay.
And so it may even be, those situations of people who move in and out of your life, and sometimes they pass away and you don't know.
That's exactly right. That's so true.
And
now,
I
Gabby,
knew each one of those people that turned up. I can remember thinking, wow, this is so cool. Like they all.
And it is so cool. You've got all this support and this wonderful guidance from your grandmother. Gabby is so, we've got Josh with us. Hi, Josh. Gabby's watching. Hi, Gabby. These are the people I can see in the chat room at this time. Gabby says, got to love synchronicities. And that is so true, because one of the books you have in your recommended reading list at the back of your book is Celestine Prophecy. And of course, that is all about alerting us to the power of synchronicities. And looking back now at your own journey and hearing you share it, the power of that you could just as easily have turned away, yet you didn't, and you began to embark on an entirely new way of life, unbeknownst to yourself at the time.
Exactly. And you know, looking back, it was such a gift. You know, at the time, it's never a gift in the moment. Like it's paid for. You know, like I even had the last rites literally before I went into surgery, and that was, you know, quite scary and things like that. So, you know, there was a high expectation. You know, I may not have come out of it, and yet gift of what that experience in terms of starting me off on this journey. And as I said before, it gave me permission to look at anything else. And people would go, oh, that's all right, Barry. If you need to go and do Reiki or massage or chiron healing, you go and do that. That's okay. Whereas in the past, it'd be like, don't be so silly, you know, like go down this road.
What are you thinking?
Exactly.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah, and the wonderful thing is, though, Barry, that you actually realised what was happening, and you realised that this was time for you to take that turn out of the school teacher business type life that you were in, and to go on a completely different path, which was obviously what you've come back here in this lifetime to do. Because
totally, and
it's sort of so important for everybody what you're doing now.
And it is, to me, you know, it's really interesting in this time and age, and I find it, you know, fascinating because as an entrepreneur, I'm always out there creating things, and I've had so many people say to me, "Oh no, look, I just want to play safe. I've got a nice safe job, and I want to do whatever." And many of those friends are actually unemployed at the moment because of the virus, and they're not able to get work. And you know, there is actually no such thing as a safe job anymore, and it really is about following where your heart is, not about following some form of safety, because I've never been so busy ever, you know, that I've been.
So that's going to lead me to another question shortly. Remind me about that 3 years ago, a little bit later. But I want to say that I heard this fantastic, Susan Jeffers was this is I think the Empowered Women collection from Hay House with Louise Hay, Carolyn Mace, Susan Jeffers, and I'm Dr. Christian Northrup. In 1995, it was amazing to listen to how far we've come, how much has changed, and yet how relevant everything is still. And she was saying, there was this really great quote that she loves, that something, I'm paraphrasing now, the man spent his whole life climbing the ladder to success. He climbed and he climbed, only to realize much later the ladder was against the wrong wall. And you have really highlighted that when you realize early on, if you're very fortunate, and even if you don't, because we know it's all divine timing, when you notice where your ladder is this the right wall for me? And you are obviously your ladder is against the right walls, because it's not just one wall. Your ladder really is against the right walls, Barry. And you can even see that in your face, the sense of real joy and purpose and peace with who you are and what you're doing and expressing in the world, and the assistance you give to other people.
Yeah. And that's been really, I think the joy has been not only for myself, but as you're saying, other people stepping up. And part of the role of the Vision School is to really help other people become visionaries. That's really what it's about. And to get that untapped 90% that they're not using of themselves at the moment and get that out to the world, you know. And that's actually happening. And that's the exciting part, I think, at the moment.
Very, very exciting. So just stepping back now into the journey that began for you in 1999 and really took you on a path that you could never have expected, and yet somehow were able to embrace in such a way that not only did you know you were embracing something powerful for yourself, but you could start to then recognize the offshoots from that, other things that were occurring for you, other synchronicities. I want to go now, the book is called One Vision, The Journey Home or Journey Home?
I think it's The Journey Home. I'm not sure.
I'm so prepared. The Journey Home. Check out Barry at thevisionschool.org. You can also contact, if you think, oh, what was the name of that school? Barry AU. Barry's in Australia. BarryAU.org. .com. We'll get Barry as well. And of course, you can reach Barry through Angel Heart Radio. So taking now the next part that's really coming into my awareness about your journey, as you're moving through all these, a lot of things are happening in your life. A lot of different experiences are happening in your life. What comes to you now in this moment as the next important thing to share with us?
I think the next important thing that happened to me is that after I came back from being sick, I can remember that I just wanted to learn what was going on. There was an alternative. And, you know, like a lot of people who go through health issues, I went through that whole smorgasbord of trying all these different avenues. And part of going through, whether it was through kinesiology or Reiki or Chiron or whole range, and I sort of did all of them, if you like, and rebirthing. And part of it, the underlying motivation for that was always about fixing the tumour. Because after I'd had the brain tumour, they wanted to reoperate again. And I sort of said, well, you've had your chance, now give me a chance. And so I got them to delay it, you know, like they said, let's get you back in. And I said, well, hang on, let's not rush this. Let's wait to see if there isn't, you know, it was supposed to be a growing tumour. And I said, let's see if it is growing. And in the meantime, I'm going to do what I can to reduce it. And I went through a number of years of doing all the different modalities that are in the book, where I'm learning about all these different things. And what happened is every 3 months, I was going back and getting retested. Now, the interesting thing for me, that instead of being really happy with the fact that there was no growth in the tumour, I was actually disappointed because there was no decrease.
Right.
And so there was that part of me that wanted to sort of be the shining light, be the next textbook that you read about that, oh, I got rid of this and I visualised this, and the next day the whole thing was gone. And so nothing really changed until I accepted the tumour for what it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, that's when things started to really change for me. And in the first few years, it was like running from one workshop to another. You know, I couldn't get the ticket quick enough to do the next thing that was going to fix me. And then going through the disappointment of, oh, and they'd be saying, wow, it's great, it's no growth. And I'm going, yeah, okay.
Like, yeah, but it hasn't worked. You know, what's going wrong?
Exactly.
Yeah, and really.
So I had to work through that process and ultimately come to a place of acceptance. And I think in that acceptance, that's when that next step takes place.
Yeah. In that acceptance, many doorways will open for us. And anyone who's been on their own journey, similar to Barry's or completely dissimilar, doesn't seem to matter, does it? We understand that as we come to a place of love and acceptance around, instead of the fear about the thing, whatever that thing is, and that's the bad guy, and we've got to do something to get rid of that bad guy. And how many times have we heard people share these stories? And it's so beautiful to hear yours. It's that loving acceptance of what seems to be completely unacceptable in the first instance that changes so much about us, for us, within us, and around us.
Yeah, and it is about accepting what is happening to us. That was the same with the very bad heart condition that I had. And I had a terrible time for nearly 2 years. And until Barry did Reiki, and that's my Barry, and he started working on me. But the Reiki could heal me to a degree. I had to change the way I was looking at what had happened in my life, which was the loss of my daughter. And I had a broken heart, and then I had to go on this journey that brought me back into my spirituality, and to realise what had happened, that we'd had a contract. And once I accepted that, then my cardiologist said, I don't know what's happened, but he said, you're not the person I diagnosed. And so it's about us in here. I had to accept what had happened and realise how blessed I was. My daughter had chosen me for those 6 years of her life to be her mother. And so it's about how we look at it, isn't it, Barry? It's how we come to the place in our lives that we know that it's no point chasing all these things. It has to come from in here.
And I think that's actually a relevant point. It was also during that time that what I did learn was that as a school teacher, and I guess coming from the background I came from, it was always like the worst case scenario so that I wouldn't be disappointed. And one of the things that Juma did, the worst case scenario was I wouldn't be here. And so I had to flip that around and start looking at what's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
And that stayed with me even to today. I'm always a half full sort of a person, like what's the best thing out of this, and, I can't fly around the world at the moment. I love flying around the world and I can't because, we're locked in here in Australia. But the best thing from that is it's enabled me to get the book finished. It's enabled me to get the movie finished, to build, a brand new platform for the Vision School. All those things I could not have done if I was still running around Australia, the world like I normally do.
Exactly. Again, it's that that powerful divine timing, and the acceptance comes in very strongly here as well, doesn't it? And seeing behind what seems to be, again, the bad guy, in this case, COVID. But okay, so all right, so let's just say that's not really true. And this is actually bringing me a whole bunch of blessings. What might my blessings be? What might they be?
And surprisingly, the amount of people I've reconnected with, even on Zoom, in the last few months that I haven't spoken to for years, those opportunities they're coming up to do that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So moving forward now into your story, you've had the operation and you've discovered so many different things about yourself, your own potential. And really, I would call it the magnificence of your own being. Barry, would you agree with that?
It's about my unrealized potential. That's how I sort of see it. It's just This was tapping there, and it taps into. So there were some things that I did. I went, this just didn't feel like it was me. Like I tried being a sitter for rebirthing, and I felt, no, I can't do this. This is too much. And I went and learned kinesiology, and this just feels like home. It was like
yes.
And so it was about finding what actually fitted for me as well. And really a lot of the book, the middle part of the book, is really the exploration of all those things. And one of the things I've tried to do in the book is to encourage people to explore it, even in the book, without putting questions at the end. So, for example, when we talk about numerology, I explain how to work out the numbers and what the numbers mean during the story, so that most people who have read it will go back and then work out their own name and their own numbers and things like that.
Yeah. So how did Edgar Case's work become really important to you and to your story and to how you were proceeding?
Again, that synchronicity, one of the first things I did when I was proving my eyesight, I was asked to present and teach at a local college, and this was like an adult education college. And they had a Christmas party there probably about a month after I taught, so I did pretty well because I got to go to the Christmas party. And I met a man there who was the Australian coordinator for Edgar Case. And we literally, it was one of those events where I was going to go and see how quickly I could leave, like I'll be there, I'll be home in an hour,
How do I make a graceful exit here?
And we were the last two people to leave the event. And we remained friends, and our kids became like cousins. We went on holidays together and things like that.
How fantastic.
So we got really put into the whole Edgar Case philosophy. In actual fact, I even got to go to the ARE, which is the Association for Research and Enlightenment organisation in West Virginia.
So cool.
Wow.
Yes. And, this is not the only synchronicity that's brought you to really connect with some, pretty amazing people on the planet, Barry. This is sort of not any. I mean, I'm thinking about Neil Donald Walsh. I'm thinking about oh God,
Esther Hicks. I was in the same room, in the same hotel, the same restaurant actually as Esther Hicks one day. Esther was during the room, and I was sitting there going like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I was a bit of a groupie. And so I said to the manager, I called the manager over and I said, can you ask those two people there if they want to have lunch with two really interesting Australians?
I love it.
Anyway, so because I didn't want to sort of, knock on, how can we come and join you? And they came and joined us. And
Wow.
that was a pretty cool experience, actually.
Yeah, and again, it really highlights it's the asking, isn't it?
Mm.
What happens when we ask? Would you?
It's the asking without the forcing as well, because they
Yeah.
said we loved the way that you invited us rather than plonking at our table and not respecting our privacy and all that.
Exactly. Can I have your autograph? Can I have a photo?
Yeah,
yeah, it's a whole different ball game.
Selfie.
So we've got Carol watching with us as well. Welcome, Carol, and welcome to everyone. No matter where you're watching us, it's wonderful to have your company. If you have any questions for Barry, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments section on the live stream feed on Angel Heart Radio on Facebook. I've lost my track now. So what are we up to? Where are we up to, Barry? Lead me, mate.
Okay, so we
I've totally lost the track.
Yeah, so we got to the stage, I guess, where I've started learning all these things, where they take a Katie, learning about vision even more, learning all these different techniques. And then I was actually invited to go to a 10-day vision conference or a vision retreat. And that's probably where the book is leading to.
So there was some really interesting things that began to occur for you. And I mean, you have had a very interesting and fulfilling life, but you've also had a life that has had some very, I guess for most people, the statement unusual experiences would not be out of place. What can you tell us about that?
You talked about the Celestine Prophecy before, and I went on this 10-day vision retreat, and we had to fly to far north Queensland. And I got to the airport and this man walks up to me and says, oh, hello, because I was looking at the departures and we're going to fly, basically we're flying to Brisbane to somewhere up north and then get a cab. And what happened is this guy came up and he said, where you go? Well, in Brisbane, I was looking at the next connection. And he came back and he said, look, I know where you're going to. Do you want a lift to get to where you need to be? We're actually hiring a car. We can give you a lift if you like. And I thought, sure. It felt like that happens. And at this stage, the reason why I said yes is I was reading the Celestine Prophecy chapter 4 about meaningful coincidences and who you meet.
Yep.
And then what happened, we're in the car and he starts apologizing to me. And he said, look, I'm really sorry that I asked you for a lift. And I thought, does he want me to get out? Do I smell? I don't know. He said, I don't normally ask people, but I'm reading a book at the moment and I'm up to chapter 4 on meaningful coincidences. And I just felt the need to ask you. And the 10-day trip started with that event occurring. And
I mean, coincidence.
Yeah. That, something special was about to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is really powerful because how often do we have what we might call coincidences, what we might also call synchronicities occur, only to write them off or ignore them or not understand that by paying attention to them, they actually will expand if it's leading us somewhere. Yeah. It's the trust, isn't it? And you seem to have that trust. You jumped in a car with someone you've got no clue who this person is, going to North Queensland where there's a lot of open spaces in Northern Queensland. And you know what I mean? I love it, Barry. It's fantastic. But the thing that I think the key statement that you made for me was it felt right to you. Your head wasn't, going through the checklist, you felt that connection in yourself, and that's right. Why we went with it.
And really just trust that. And then Over the 10 days, what happens, I guess, is during that 10-day period, I actually found myself being disconnected from the group. And it was really interesting, when you go to groups and you feel closer and closer, that this was a journey that I had to do by myself.
Yeah.
And so by about the 8th day, I actually had wandered off and literally went missing for 2 days.
Wow.
And what was interesting was only a week or two ago, I got to speak with the fellow who was actually running the workshop, and I hadn't spoken to him for 23 years. And the thing that I recognize is we all had our own experience about what happened. For me, I went off with the angels for 2 days and had this experience. For him, his experience that this guy's turned up, he's gone missing. We've had to get the police in and search and rescue. And search and rescue have told him that anyone that's gone missing in this area have never been found because of the snakes and the crocodiles. So I really recognise, and I guess, we have to understand that everyone who are a player in this had their own experiences. The police who were searching for me, the other participants, everyone got out of it, I believe, what they were meant to get out of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it was a powerful experience. And I often say, people go, wow, you had this experience, you went off with the angels for a few days. And I'm really clear of never saying it was a wow experience. It was a powerful experience, but it was neither good or bad. There were times that I thought I died, and there was times that I thought, well, this is it, I'm in heaven, I won't be coming back. And so it was that process of going through that experience that literally, I think, has not only changed who I am, but actually formed who I am now even.
Yeah.
I'm a very different person from that person from when I was given the initial diagnosis right through to having that experience. But it's even taken probably 20 years from having those major experiences to integrate that.
Yeah.
And this is why I said at the start, the reason why this is getting published now is that I've had to be ready for it to be published now.
I hear you. I hear you so loud and clear. You probably do have an idea, actually. And what I'm hearing also, and it's circling us back to what we spoke about just a little while ago. Gabby's got to run. Thank you for being with us, Gabby. And yes, thanks. Please do watch the end of it. She's loving it. Gabby is just a beautiful, beautiful soul and such a supporter of Angel Heart Radio. So special, extra big hugs to you, Gabby. The thing that really keeps playing in my mind as well, as you're speaking about all of this, is again, it was about acceptance, wasn't it?
Yes.
You began to accept that this was my experience. That may have been yours. That may have been yours. It doesn't have to be anything other. Or you don't have to integrate other people's experiences into your own, because you were having your own experience, which you chose to accept for what it was and for the potential that it's, been unveiling for you. Hence your integration of all of that energy and the experience and the changes in you over these 20 whatever years.
23 years since that experience.
23 years. So look at that.
And really, the experience, there's lots of things in the book that we can talk about the actual experiences, but, one of them was, and we've talked about near-death experiences, one of them was the opportunity for me to leave this world and be in the other world. And at the same time that this was happening, my wife at home had the police knocked on the door saying I was missing, presumed dead in far north Queensland. So she had her experience. She contacts all these psychics, and all the friends that we knew who were really, very clever psychics had all said I wasn't here on this planet. And so she was going through her own grief process, if you like, for the Barry that went missing. And in some ways that Barry did go missing.
Yes.
The Barry
and then we've got
the Barry that came home was a very different Barry, and it's been a process of integration. And the similarity that sort of came to me recently, that's sort of been shown to me, was, Nelson Mandela had the same sort of integration process in jail, that the person that went into jail was a different person who came out. And in his case, it was harder because his integration period was done in a confined space, but he still had to integrate that new person before he could come out and be the leader that he was.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and you had young children at this time, teenagers, I believe. So there was a lot of elements to this story, and I'm really mindful and grateful that you're helping us to understand, to focus and become very aware, because a lot of other people are going through their own experiences, that to be accepting and embrace our experiences for what they were, what they are, and what they offer us, without trying to placate or fix anybody else. And you're not even trying to fix yourself. You are going with this experience. I mean, you started off trying to fix this tumor and ended up opening your heart in so many really deep ways that I would imagine you couldn't have even entertained.
No, it wouldn't have been part of my thought process, you know, what was going to happen. And even much of the experiences that I think I read about afterwards, it wasn't like I had it in the back of my mind and imagined it. And, you know, and I look back now even, and it's like it was an experience that I was meant to have. That's all it was. You know, I'm not going to say it was good or bad. It was just an experience. And not everyone has to go through such a traumatic experience these days. So I'm not sort of suggesting, well, I wish everyone could do this. But there is a transformational process. And the other thing is I want people to recognise too that it's taken 20 years to integrate this. That, you know, and during those first few years, I came back expecting an instant change on the planet, if you like. It was like, this is going to happen tomorrow. And then I come back. And I came back and it was like, life is just the same here.
Like everything looks the same. People are behaving the same, and yet you are essentially irrevocably changed.
Yeah. And so, you know, this is, for people listening in particular, it's about what I had to learn from this was, you know, timing can be 20 years. Timing can be a lifetime. You know, we place the time that it has to be this period. But I think true change, if it's a 20-year period, you know, creates something that's much more solid and not just this is the passing, you know, phrase I'm going through and we'll go through the next thing next month because something else is happening. You know, this has been really the solid rock component for me over the last 20 years. You know, even during times which, you know, people have, you know, I had to go back in 2008 and get reoperated on. A week later, they found a blood clot and literally told me I had 2 hours to live and get through that. 6 months later, I got divorced and separated and then divorced. So all those things happen in 1 year, you know, and it just...
That's a heck of a lot.
Then I came to Queensland and met Anaya, so there we go. Still alive. But, you know, it all led towards one thing. And my last 10 years since I've been up here since then, you know, has been the start of my life, you know, and in many ways I feel like my life is still just starting, you know. And, you know, my next 20, 30 years I'm excited about.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting. And I think, you know, when we stop and think about it, that's such a great way of looking at it, you know, that it's always, we're just starting this next part of the journey. And you know, then we have this excitement, knowing something is going to happen, but not knowing what, but trusting enough to make the journey and take the steps to get onto the pathway of that journey. So, because that's what it's all about.
And I always knew, you know, being involved with vision as a vision educator, I always knew 2020 was going to be a big year.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how could it be anything else?
And didn't realise it was going to be this big in so many ways, you know, the world, you know, getting shut down and everything else that's happening. But at the same time, you know, this is the year that the book is coming out. You know, that wasn't planned at the start of the year.
Yeah.
You know, we've got the movie coming out this year, which was planned only last year, but the date has, you know, set for, you know, World Vision Day only happened last month, you know, and the Vision School has expanded itself from being a small idea into a place where other people are now running programs, not just my own.
Yeah. And I mean, let's just touch on that just briefly. You've got some fantastic programs available. One I'm very pleased to share is the Blocks to Money Flow
Clear blocks to
program.
money flow.
Clear Blocks to Money Flow. And I was sharing with Barry that it's been really amazing for me because I had these blocks I would never, ever in a million years have identified by thinking about it or journaling or anything else. And it was really surprising to me what some of those blocks really were. And some of those blocks were to do with resentment. So, you know, this is a really cool process. And I love the fact that now that I have this program, I do it in my time. I don't have to push through. Someone's not sending me an email saying, well, you know, you should have completed this by now. Come on. It's the divine timing again. I'm integrating, I'm learning so much through this program. So that is available at thevisionschool.org as well, everyone.
It's actually that program, there's actually over 200 blocks that not only we identify, but we use 50 statements to actually clear those blocks. And that's something that I don't know other programs are doing, you know.
No, and it's really amazing because I'll tell you what happens, guys. It's how Barry does it. You know, you're working in the energetic field, right? So you've got this snappy finger thing that you do, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, presto. And I always know when the block is released because my head goes to the left. Right? It just automatically. And quite often I begin to sob. And it's like this massive big sob comes out of me, and it's such a relief, but it's not painful at all to sob. It's not like I'm living something terrible. So this big clearing happens. So my body tells me very, very clearly, it's not a mental process for me. Oh, I think that block's cleared. But it's right when you do that clearing in that etheric field. So it doesn't matter where you are watching and experiencing this program. It does not matter in the slightest because we're not doing this in the physical world. We're doing this energetically where all progress takes place.
Yeah. I get emails now literally every day from people who said that they've just had a major shift from someone who's done the online program, and all my classes work beyond time and space. So people are getting cleared every day, even without me having to be there. You know, it's such a
it's fantastic
clever way of putting it out there, I think.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I feel when the block clears, I can feel it in my chest. It's like a vibration is released in my chest. It's lovely.
It's awesome. Brilliant. It's great. So thevisionschool.org, everyone, if you want to go and check that out. So now circling back now again. Oh, hang on. No, there is one little thing that I would like just to mention before we go to, because we're actually running out of time, aren't we? Yeah, we are. We have to get you back, Barry, to talk about this further. But I feel this is really worth mentioning. And I think it's an important point, and I'd like you to share a little bit, Barry, in whatever way you'd like to. I mean, your life over the last 3 years, because you're not just offering this program, this is something you have experienced and used and worked with and had that integration in your own life here on earth.
Yeah. What's happened for me about 4 years ago, I'd done all this personal development work, and I felt connected, and I was able to do really good work. And yet my practical life was really struggling. You know, I was struggling in relationships. I was pretty well broke and just struggling from week to week. And so one of the things that I did is I actually separated for myself. I got the opportunity to go around the world for 6 months. My father passed away and I had some money. So I went around the world for 6 months, and I actually found the difference in my mind between vibration and frequency. And vibration to me now is that connection to spirit. That's my consciousness, if you like. Frequency is more external. That's about law of attraction of what's happening in the world. And I found that my vibration was really high, but my frequency maybe wasn't as high. And really started ways of increasing my frequency. And so all
Okay,
the
so
programs,
can we just stop there for a second and just step back? Okay, Sarah, when you have a think about that, you think you may be in that situation yourself, but I meditate. I've got a really wonderful spiritual life happening. You know, I know that I'm doing all of these things and experiencing my world, my life, myself in a very balanced and beautiful way, and yet you can't pay bills, or you're struggling financially all the time, or your relationships keep falling to pieces, or you find whatever it is, right? So can you say that again for people about the difference between what you feel now, the difference between your vibration and your frequency is, and what that means in real world terms, living
the
here and now?
vibration is my internal component. That's about how I'm going. That's my connection to spirit.
Yep.
Frequency is my connection to the world. That's external. And when I focus for a while on both, I'm not saying one or the other, and we assume that because our vibration goes up, our frequency does. But we've seen enough. You look around, you may even be in a situation where you can understand that. Where we can get vibration and frequency both up together, then that creates change. And I've actually got a program on the Vision School called the Glass Ceiling Breakthrough. And that's actually about how to actually go about, how do you raise your vibration, how do you raise your frequency? And that's what I did for myself, 3 years ago now. And literally my life has completely changed. My financial status has changed. I can go traveling. The last time I came back from America, I went to premium economy coming back from America. Next time I tend to go back, I'll go business class, I'm in that position where I can travel how and where I want to. And that's the difference for me. And to have both means that I can also now help more people.
Yeah.
And the opportunity to help more people. So there's the Glass Ceiling Breakthrough, which is about my journey. And as Anaya said, the other one that I did was the money flow, clear blocks to money flow, to help my financial status so I could actually start doing some of these things that I've been wanting to do in my life.
It's fabulous. And we've got Noella with us, and she says, thank you, Barry, and Angel Heart Ladies. Oh, I like that. Angel Heart Lady. You're gorgeous. Enjoyed hearing your journey. First time listener. Well, welcome to Angel Heart Radio. And what a perfect way to introduce Angel Heart Radio to you, into your life and into your world. Now you've met Barry, and it's fantastic. So in case you haven't been with us for very long on this program, thevisionschool.org will get you to Barry's website, where you can learn lots more if that's what draws you.
And if people are after the book, it's not quite available yet. It'll be released in the next month or so. So you guys have jumped in, very first people to have me.
Yes. Maybe we need to have a little launch celebration with you on air, so people can go, here's the link, go buy the book, kind of thing. And this is important because it's wonderful to know that something, if we're feeling really attracted to something, that it then becomes very easy for us to not only access it, but to experience it. And the thing I love the most about anything that really connects with me is I love to share. If it makes me feel good, I want to share it with as many people as I can who are open to being shared with, because it's a beautiful thing.
Yep. So I definitely think there's another show here.
Yeah. I hope so. Marjorie is with us. Hello, Marjorie. Welcome. So there is so much about this journey that we haven't even touched on. And of course, the thing I love about the way we all work together is we're not working to a format. Ask this question, you say this. Then Caroline asks a question, you say something. We go with our intuitive wisdom and allow things to unfold in a really beautiful way that's very synchronistic.
And I just want to thank both of you today. I've really enjoyed just having a chat to both of you, and to going back over some of those experiences, because we've been so busy doing the final edit and taking out that's and ands and language and doing all that sort of stuff. So
how many times you realise that you've used that and 15,000 and exclamation marks? Every sentence got, it's fantastic, Barry. It's beautiful. You've done so well. You're doing so well.
Yeah, and it's been delightful. I've loved meeting you, Barry, and chatting to you. And I'm sure that we're going to have another show at least, and do more information and get your story out to so many people, because it's a different story. And when they hear all of the, all the different bits and pieces of it, they will realise that you're definitely here for a purpose.
Thank you very much. And the book was really designed for people even starting or moving on a spiritual journey to help them on that way. So that was always the intent. So thank you, Angel Ladies. I really like that too, actually.
Yeah, we do too.
Yeah, I love it. I'm sticking with that. That was fantastic, Noella. You've created something here, which is beautiful. Thank you. So if you've just joined us, in the last few minutes or the last half hour, please go back and really watch the whole show. There is so much wisdom that Barry has shared with us today. But even beyond that, for me, Barry, there are a lot of opportunities that have come out today to really experience ourselves and our own journeys in a way that may open many doors for us in lots of different ways, including the synchronicities, and the pathway that we're on, especially if we're struggling right now, because there's a lot going on in the world.
Thank you. And I do recognise, people are struggling in a lot of different ways, and people's experience of what's happening at the moment is your experience. Everyone's having their own experience of what this COVID-19 is happening. So I'm just sending blessings out to everyone in whatever way it is affecting you at the moment.
Beautiful, Barry. Thank you. Jean has said, great. Thank you. Great show. Thank you, Barry and Angel Ladies. Look, it's taken off already. Thank you, Jean. Lovely, lovely to have you with us. So you can tune into Angel Heart Radio. We're live streaming to Facebook, as you know, and YouTube, as you know. But you can go back, if you go to the Angel Heart Radio Facebook page and look at the video section, you can keep expanding that section to find the videos that maybe are calling you to watch them. And Barry, how do people connect with you on Facebook?
So Facebook, the easiest way on Facebook is just my name. So it's Barry Auchettl. It's AUCHETTL. And thevisionschool.org is where all the programs are on. And my website is simply barryau.com. AU for Auchettl and AU for Australia.
Easy peasy. Fantastic. And we will be posting all that information for you on this video and on our Facebook page. So that makes it easy. Think you, Barry.
Thank you, Angel Ladies. Very great.
Thank you, Angel Lady.
And thank you, Angel Lady. I think it's your turn to say it today, isn't it?
Yes, it is my turn to say it today. But before I say it, our next show next week, we're on our normal time. Yeah.
Yep.
Is 8:30 Central, 8:30 p.m. Central, and 11:30 a.m. Brisbane, so that's Wednesday evening in the USA on that timeline, and Thursday morning on this other timeline, which is Australia. And at this stage, we don't know what we're going to be talking about. So if you want us to share anything and we'll touch on any subjects, don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. So thanks, guys.
Janet on next week.
I don't know. It's not on my schedule. I'll have to talk to my admin, Angel, about that.
Yeah, I have put it on the schedule, but I haven't given you a hard copy yet.
Okay.
So I need to start on hand. So Janet doing part 3.
Of the fantastic series she's doing on all the energy surrounding the planet and the influences from the human design astrology, what it means, what we need to know, and how we can best embrace the energies to support us as we move through this next 7 years, which in human design astrology, in 2027, we are having a massive upgrade to spirit awareness, and that's happening no matter what. So it's been fantastic. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Remember to be kind to you. Yeah, I'm going to say it. Remember to be really kind to you. That's so important. To look after yourself as a really valuable, beautiful being on this planet. There is no other you. So just love yourself, and be kind to yourself. And you'll come back now.
Bye, everyone. Lots of love. Bye, Barry.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Take care. Bye.